The Leader Habit: Master the Skills You Need to Lead in Just Minutes a Day by Martin Lanik. Leaders should be strong communicators, good planners, strategic thinkers and able delegators. Research indicates that 70% of leadership attributes are skills that people can develop, while 30% are innate. Follow the Leader Habit Formula, a scientific approach to behavioral change. A list of 22 core leadership skills underpins the Leader Habit Formula. Cultivate your leadership instincts by engaging daily in simple, 5-minute exercises. Once the skill you practice becomes a habit, it won't take any planning or thought. Your instant response will be to act like a leader. You must link every habit to a cue and a behavior. When the cue pops up, you automatically respond with a specific behavior. Each cue should be simple, concrete and obvious. Coaches, teachers, mentors and other development professionals can put this system to work to help those they educate become better leaders. Using the Leader Habit Formula takes time, energy and dedication. Summary: make leadership skills habitual. Leaders act and think a certain way. Others evaluate them as leaders based on their conduct and presentation. Effective leadership behaviors are specific, learned skills. Quality leaders are strong communicators, good planners, strategic thinkers and able delegators. Research indicates that 70% of leadership attributes are skills that people can develop, while 30% are innate. When leaders act badly, it's usually out of a bad habit. Something about the situation makes them unconsciously slip into a bad behavior without realizing it. For great leaders, even learned skills can become habits. You can turn to great leaders as models of behavior and develop the same habits by learning from them. The best way to become a leader is to make those habits instinctual. They should become spontaneous responses to standard cues. You can cultivate your leadership instincts by engaging in simple, 5-minute leadership habit exercises every day. Follow the Leader Habit Formula. Target a specific ability you want to develop, for example, active listening, in which you pay close and respectful attention to others, and then practice it, day after day. At the same time, link the skill with specific behavioral cues, and, possibly, rewards, until it becomes an automatic behavior. This system's patterns draw on proven techniques for changing behavior. Automaticity. Automaticity, the ability to perform a task without having to focus on its every detail, powers the Leader Habit Formula. Developing automaticity requires a great deal of practice. For example, think of learning to drive a stick-shift car. Remember how you had to think about every separate step. Take your right foot off the gas pedal, press the clutch all the way down with your left, move the stick shift to the next gear in one synchronized motion and then release the clutch while simultaneously pressing the gas. At the same time, you had to keep your eyes on the road, watch for traffic, steer, periodically check the rearview mirror, use your turn signals, stay under the speed limit, and observe all the other rules and customs of responsible driving. If people aren't genuinely motivated to change, then they won't be motivated to put in the effort necessary to make the change happen. That's a daunting number of actions to learn to do at once. Now, thanks to habituation and automaticity, you do them reflexively, without thinking about any of them individually. Using a stick shift smoothly takes dedicated practice, and so does creating any leadership habit or skill. Research indicates that nearly half, if not more, of people's behavior is instinctual and habitual. To become a worthy leader, you must convert learned leadership skills into habits. Leadership skills. A well-rounded leader should internalize leadership skills as habits, though that takes time. After a while, the skills will require less thought and become more natural. Eventually, they will become automatic. Forming leadership habits takes practice after you've initially mastered the skill. You must move beyond mastery to achieve automaticity. If leadership is mostly learned, then it stands to reason that people who end up in leadership roles must possess certain skills that others don't have. Psychologists call the crucial stage that follows mastery overlearning. Once you overlearn the skill you practice, it becomes a habit, and it won't take any planning or thought. It will be instinctive. That means you'll routinely use leadership behaviors in any situation. Your instant response will be to act like a leader. The leader habit formula is about acquiring and strengthening skills through deliberate practice. It's no different than building physical strength by targeting specific muscle groups. So what skills should good leaders develop? The answer is not a mystery. Scientific research over many decades precisely identifies these abilities. A review of the literature produces a list of core leadership skills, which form the organizing framework for the leader habit formula. Getting things done. The first category of skills relates to accomplishing work tasks. It contains 3 subcategories, each with associated skills. Planning and execution. This includes the aptitude to manage priorities, plan and organize work, delegate work, and create urgency. Solving problems and making decisions. Leaders must analyze information, think through solutions, make good decisions, and focus on customers. Leading change. Leaders need to sell the vision, innovate, and manage risk. Focusing on people. This second group of skills also contains 3 subgroups. Persuasion and influence. Leaders can influence others, overcome individual resistance, and negotiate well. Growing people and teams. A leader should empower others, mentor and coach, and build team spirit. Interpersonal skills. Leaders need to be able to build relationships, show caring, listen actively, communicate clearly, and speak with charisma. Microbehaviors. Each leadership skill encompasses an underlying cluster of microbehaviors. For example, to manage priorities, leaders draw on 4 microbehaviors. 1. Split a project into separate jobs. Break them down into simple, tangible and doable assignments, so people know what they are responsible for. 2. Prioritize these tasks by urgency. 3. Derive realistic, functional time frames showing how long each task should take. And 4. Rank tasks logically so people understand their deadlines. Most people enter leadership development with baggage from previous self-help or professional development sessions. When you decide which leadership skill you want to turn into a habit, consider the microbehaviors it requires. Once you establish a specific microbehavior underlying a leadership skill you want to master, practice it for 5 minutes a day, every day, until it becomes a habit. How long that takes depends on each individual. How to develop a habit. Before you plan to create new habits, you should understand how they work. You must link every habit to a cue and a behavior. When the cue pops up, you will learn to respond automatically with a specific behavior. For example, to keep track of your keys, you may have developed the habit of hanging them on a certain hook in your kitchen. Thus, whenever you enter your home, that's your cue, you automatically go to the hook and hang up your keys, that's the behavior. From the moment you wake up until the moment you fall asleep, you carry out the same, consistent routines. You purposely created this habit by faithfully hanging your keys on their hook whenever you come home. The only way this habit came into being was through daily repetition. Habits always pair specific cues with specific behaviors. Active listening. Active listening is an important leadership skill. Laura, an emergency room nurse, wanted to become a nurse manager. She discovered that the other nurses saw her as argumentative, sarcastic, always pushing her own agenda, dismissive of others' opinions, a poor listener, and emotionally volatile. Laura learned to use the leader habit formula to act more like a leader. For her 5-minute practice, once a day Laura would ask her colleagues how questions, using these resulting conversations as behavioral cues to develop and practice the habit of actively listening to their answers. Much of people's everyday behavior is not a result of their conscious decision-making or deliberate choice. After repeating this microbehavior over and over, Laura saw that her colleagues were becoming friendlier, because her questions showed she cared about them and their concerns. That kind of caring is genuine leadership behavior. As Laura conducted this exercise for 5 minutes every day, asking questions and listening carefully eventually became second nature, something she no longer had to think about doing. Ultimately, thanks to her new considerate attitude, Laura received the promotion she wanted, all due to one 5-minute exercise that Laura practiced until it became a reliable, unconscious habit. Pairing cues and behavior. The secret to creating a desirable routine is always to pair the same cue with the same simple, consistent behavior, and to repeat that behavior over and over. The cue, like the behavior, should be simple, concrete and obvious. To reinforce habit formation, combine the behavior with a reward of some kind. Your habit-forming sequence becomes cue behavior reward. Once a behavior becomes a habit, a reward is no longer necessary. Persuasion and influence. Persuasion and influence are also important leadership skills. They entail motivating your employees to attain the goals your organization sets for them. 3 subordinate skills ally with this primary skill: influence others, overcome individual resistance and negotiate well. If you decide, for example, to improve your ability to influence others and to make that skill into a habit, begin by addressing the 4 microbehaviors associated with influencing others. 1. Try to foresee how people might respond to your plans or concepts. 2. Use questions to delve into their reactions. 3. Direct the conversation to root causes, not just symptoms. And 4. Guide people to express any related, hidden requests, so you can address what they want directly. If you want your leadership development workout to succeed, don't waste time creating a big, overwhelming development plan, just start practicing your first leader habit exercise. People assume leaders automatically have influence because of their corporate positions. That's not the case. Leaders who adopt an authoritarian stance and order staff around are terrible leaders who may lack influence. You want your team members to support you and follow your lead of their own volition. If you can't influence them positively, leading will be painful, for you and for them. Influence deficit. To assess whether you lack influence, look for these reliable indicators that all is not well. You can't motivate the people on your team members react negatively to what you ask of them, and you can't convince them to handle matters the way you wish. Habits are powerful. Once a behavior becomes a habit, it happens automatically in response to its cue, without any conscious thought. In response, you want to develop leadership skills that match your personality, so as you decide on your next step, realize that you want to work on a trait that fits you. Ambition and resilience are the characteristics that align most closely with influence. Ambitious people often exhibit self-confidence, they can be persuasive. Resilient people stay calm and cool, they contain their frustration if things don't go their way. We are creatures of habit, personally and professionally, and no amount of classroom instruction or book learning alone can build the habits that will make us better leaders. To become a more influential leader, consider a 5-minute exercise regarding a microbehavior called anticipate reactions. New ideas can scare people. Your leadership role includes being able to predict how your team members will respond to your ideas, suggestions or instructions. To develop or improve this skill, use this behavioral cue. Look ahead to your next meeting. Consider how the person you're going to meet will react to the meeting's topic. Perhaps you plan to present a new logo. Before the meeting, write down your prevailing thoughts, such as, I think Susie will like the colors, but she may not like the shape. In practice, at most organizations, development plans have become just another bureaucratic exercise that consumes time and effort without producing the desired results. The microbehavior of asking about someone else's concerns relates to the skill of influencing people. Ask about your team members' worries, because they're more likely to support you if you demonstrate in advance that you appreciate their feedback and care about their reactions. With this in mind, try this specific microbehavior as a practice. When a team member shows dissatisfaction with your latest idea, respond, "What makes you concerned about this?" Coaching with the Leader Habit Formula. Coaches, teachers, mentors, and other development professionals can put this system to work to help those they educate become better leaders. Before you use the formula to help others, make sure you're motivated to make any needed changes in your own professional life. The better your leadership habits, the better you will perform as a leader, and the more successful you will be. The Leader Habit Formula takes time, energy, and dedication. Developing leadership habits is something people must do for themselves, no one can do it for them. They must have the impetus to put in the time and effort to develop new habits and become stronger leaders. About the author. Martin Lanik is CEO of Pinsight, a consultancy that has worked on leadership development solutions with people in 30 countries. You can take Lanik's free Leader Habit quiz at www.leaderhabit.com.